Okay, the topic, implementing SAP S/4HANA with focus build in SAP Solution Manager. For those who maybe have participated already the previous session in our track, it's the perfect path to continue because we are going now more in the real implementation project. While we have learned in the previous session from Raik Böttner that what is available and what is possible to prepare all your paths before you really start with such an S4 movement. So here we started. This is just a disclaimer for legal purpose. And as I said, we have this hashtag ALM Summit. If you would like to share something that you like or don't like, or what you do within the breaks, don't hesitate and share it with our community. So our agenda is, I will give you an overview and introduction to Focus Build. And I appreciate already in the beginning, for those who know Focus Build already pretty well, it will be a lot of repeating. Yeah? But nevertheless, we do this ALM Summit this year, the first time virtual. We expect to have many new interested people in the topic of Solution Manager and Focus Build. And therefore, I think it's also fair to give an overview and introduction of what is Focus Build, how does it work, and what are the concepts behind it. Nevertheless, for those who know Focus Build pretty well, no need to leave the session. There's always something new to learn, and there will be definitely some great new highlights that we have delivered recently in SP6 for you, which is then introduced from Frank in this session. Okay, so probably most of you seen the introduction session yesterday and the keynote from Mark Thier, and you know we have three main products in our portfolio which are supporting customers in their ALM tasks. What we are talking about today is, of course, the Solution Manager with a clear focus on a typical hybrid customer solution. So on-prem is certainly in the center with some additional cloud solutions, but the Focus Build solution is definitely running in the Solution Manager on-prem and is currently not available somehow in SAP Cloud or not, and even more not in Focus Run. So therefore, we are talking here about a Solution Manager, and which includes the two add-on solutions, which are called Focus Build and Focused Insights. But what are we delivering in Solution Manager in general? Doesn't matter if it's now coming pre-configured with Focus Build or if it's part of the standard as a single capability or not. When we look at the build part, meaning how we support the implementation of new SAP solutions, we are definitely having focus to support all our intelligent enterprise solutions. And what we do here is we have four major parts. We have functionalities and capabilities in plan and control. You can also say a lot of project management capabilities are embedded here in the Solution Manager, certainly mainly driven through the integration of our PPMS tool that we have embedded in the Solution Manager. But then we have also functionalities around design and build, meaning we're dealing with the processes, we are managing the documentation of such processes, and we are also managing the whole landscape, so bringing the bridge into the more technical perspectives. And also this is not only like to view, like in the typical best practice explorers and roadmap views, but we import these function or this content and make it available in Solution Manager to model it, to work with these content, right? So this is, I think, pretty unique in Solution Manager. And then we have a huge test suite, which is covering all type of tests from the unit tests up to the integration, acceptance, regression tests, and also all test types from a manual testing over in automated testing. And yeah, we call it such a semi-automated testing, which we have in our Focus Build scenario available as well. And last but not least, also very crucial functionalities in the Solution Manager to take care and to have a control about all the deployments of your landscape and your developments and configurations. So all this is available in the Solution Manager, and it's pretty obvious that it's it's a huge suite of functionalities. And if you now start to build an S4HANA project, you maybe would like to use these functionalities quicker instead of going in a solution manager and prepare it over months. But how would you now use an SAP Solution Manager, and specifically maybe also Focus Build, to on your path to an S4HANA movement? So let's again have a quick look at that what the previous session from Join the SAP Movement program has been introduced. And just to mention a few of these tools that Raik mentioned before, like the Transformation Navigator, the Business Scenario Recommendation, the SAP Activate methodology, and very crucial, of course, also the Readiness Check. So these are tools that SAP is providing you in the move to S4, like in the preparation steps. And when we then look further in maybe after a project kickoff, so you decided for your project, we are offering in the Solution Manager many features that are supporting you in cleaning up or making your project a little more efficient with landscape management tools or the custom code management, which just reduces all your legacy code over the years, and you just want to move the things that you really need into S4. Or data volume management, to keep maybe also the data volume lower because you're moving into an HANA database, right? So these are things that we are offering also through the Solution Manager. And then when it really starts with the main project, so let's say we have the kickoff of the project, and the project team is set up, and now let's say the consultants together with the business teams will start. The main starting point is talking about the scope, about the processes. And that's happening with the process management in Solution Manager. And here we give additional content, or a good starting point, with our model company content and assets that we are providing, or the free available content that you can get out of SAP best practices. So this brings content which makes all the discussions about what is the scope of your future SAP landscape much easier. And then the project really starts, meaning we have to collect the requirements, the delta between what is the standard of our SAP processes and that what you as a customer would need. So defining the requirements based on the processes, building all these requirements, testing all of that, getting it transported, and of course having a full control about your releases. If you have a huge project, you probably have several releases running in parallel. And what is Focus Build now? Focus Build is, as I said, exactly for these parts, from the process management over to the release management, a fast track, a possibility for you to use an SAP best practice, how you typically can do an S4HANA project. And that is what is possible. It's based on the existing functionalities, of course, but it gives you already an out-of-the-box configuration of those. And what is in both cases definitely relevant is what happens after you go live, because in 99% of the cases, customers will continue using the Solution Manager for their operation, for having monitoring functionalities, for keeping changes to update the system, for using business process operation activities, and so on. So this is typically also happening then easier in a smooth handover after the project into an operations phase after go live. So in a nutshell, when you do a system conversion project, for instance, you would use the readiness check to prepare your project, to identify what has to be done. The result, the outcome is the simplification item list. You would definitely also use custom code management to clean up your system, to check what is really needed to transfer into an S4 system. Then you would also use the S4HANA transition roadmap to manage your project. So getting, let's say, the guidance, the tasks of the roadmap, how a project has typically been done. You can use Activate or model companies to accelerate your project with content, additional content, or a model company even with a pre-configured S4 system that you can use as a trial. And what is Focus Build? Focus Build is then the tool that you manage to really process your project, meaning doing all your developments, doing your configuration activities in an agile way. So therefore, what is Focus Build in a nutshell? I mean, Focus Build is an add-on that is part of the SAP Solution Manager 7.2. And it's together with the Activate methodology, because that is, let's say, a crucial part of our content. The perfect bundle that you would use for innovation projects. Yeah, it's an add-on. It contains mainly the pre-configurations. I will later show more detail what also is embedded in this Focus Build stack. But keep in mind, it's an additional stack. It's not part of your standard solution manager. You have to install it and activate it, and with that, all these Focus Build functionalities are available to you. The main idea is that we would like to give our customers a jump start. Many customers decide, unfortunately, too late in that whole S4 transformation, which project tool they would like to use and how the project processes should be managed. So here it's then very helpful if you have a tool like the Solution Manager, and with the Focus Build add-on, an immediately switch that you can use to have a pre-configured system available. It provides workflows, workflow supported processes, such as how to create requirements and how we transfer requirements into work packages, into work items, and so on. You see that we have the four main parts that we would like to cover with it is a requirements management based on the processes that you have decided to be in scope. An agile concept that breaks down, let's say, a project over several levels into really small iterated sprints. Very modern and high usable UIs, because the idea is it should be used from the whole project team. It's not an IT tool. It's really a tool that each and everybody in the project would use. The tester, the business process expert, the project managers, release managers, and so on. And last but not least, there's a brilliant reporting functionality, real-time reporting covered with our dashboards. So the transparency of the project is always at a very high level. So again, to make it visible that the Solution Manager itself is the platform, is the tool. And if you are going for an SAP model company project approach, you will get all the content from the model company, like business process hierarchies, end-to-end scenarios, the process diagrams, but also documents like configuration guides, how-to guides, test scripts, and so on. This is all imported in the Solution Manager into our process management. And of course, with model company, you also get a pre-configured system, which is then connected to the Solution Manager so that you can jump from the process views directly into the system to have a live view on how the process would look like. The other option is you use Activate from where we take our roadmap tasks, but also from where we take the best practice processes, which are free of charge available and can be imported in the Solution Manager. All this since beginning of this year is without or can be used together with SAP Solution Manager as no additional license. So in the past, we had the Focus Solution still on the price list in the SAP store. This is not the case anymore. So everybody who is using the Solution Manager can also free of charge install the stack and use Focus Build and Insights. This is not valid for Focus Run. Focus Run remains on the price list in the store. So when now to use the Focus Build compared, maybe when do you still use Solution Manager as a standard for your implementation project? And here are some criteria. If you want to have an out-of-the-box best practice process for this requirement to deploy, meaning the typical, you start with the process discussions, collecting the requirements, and do all the process flows until you deploy your release. This is a predefined process and cannot much be adjusted. So this is, let's say, the best practice from us. Then you better use focus build. If you want to have it customer specific with your own status flow, your own approval flows, additional features, and so on, you can do it also, of course, with Solution Manager, but then you do it, let's say, on your own by sticking together the relevant processes and capabilities of Solution Manager, because focus build should not be modified. Yeah, it's a fixed solution. In agile tool integration, such as Jira integration or other Scrum tools that we have, is also only available together with focus build. The same is with all these automated available dashboards. So you cannot have the dashboard functionality only and combine it with the Solution Manager standalone. So this is bundled in the focus build scenario and can only be used together. The handover to operations for later change management or monitoring functionalities is in both scenarios possible and definitely recommended to do. So what are some trigger points for you when you now plan your move to S4 and you're not yet fully decided if focus build is the right approach for you? Just some hints here that help you. So if your project is business process driven, like typically a greenfield project are mainly business process driven, because you start with designing the new processes maybe. Even more relevant when you're using model company, then you definitely would use the process management in the Solution Manager. And if you have the process management anyway full in place, from there you can then continue with the focus build processes. Of course, you should have some configuration and development in mind. Yeah, so because this is mainly what focus build is about. If there's a pure conversion project with almost only master data migration and technical migrations with less developments or less configurations, then it's maybe not relevant. But if you have some, that's definitely an indicator. It's helpful if you have distributed teams, several locations. I think this is pretty relevant in the current critical time where we're all in, because then you have a structured process, a structured methodology. You have a transparency of all the activities of the team. So that's definitely certainly helpful here as well. If you're running with a value assurance package, because there you have then access to additional focus build services to help you enabling focus build and to guide you through the usage. One important thing is that a PMO wants to use the tool. So that's very crucial. So it's not an IT-driven tool. It's something that the program and the project management have to want. Yeah, so they are the drivers. They have to accept the tool, and they want that the whole project team is using it in a workflow supported way. So that's definitely a key or a key lesson learned. If you would like to continue Solution Manager after go live, it's also a pretty good indicator, because then the handover to the operations team is much easier. And if you would like to have an agile approach for your project, not saying waterfall is not possible at all. We had projects, they were working in one big sprint. So let's say technically it's possible, but our strong recommendation is to follow our best practice. And this is working with sprints and with waves in an agile way. And of course, if you are in pressure and you need a tool soon, then you need focus build, because there's no time anymore to get a Solution Manager from scratch prepared and configured to be used in the whole S4 project. So what is this? What does it accelerate in this stack? Yeah, so the whole focus build is of course based on existing capabilities from Solution Manager. What you can see here, like project management, process management, requirement change, release, and test management. So these are the foundations of whatever we are doing. And what is now the green part? That's coming with the stack. And one I said already, it's based on this activate methodology, we have pre-configured all these capabilities into an end-to-end process flow, right? So this is certainly the biggest or the most important part of it. Nevertheless, we are also providing already available out-of-the-box dashboards like solution readiness, or for test management, or for release managers dashboards. Everything that you're using or your project team is using is based on SAP UI5 application, so pretty easy to learn and to use it. So it's not an IT tool like in the monitoring or in the deep change and release management. And we have this integration of other Scrum tools or Scrum functionalities also available only here. On top of that, we providing you a role-based concept. That means we have the tiles bundled in roles, and we are also providing via OpenSAP a training that can be used to train all the people in the project so that they immediately know how to use Focus Build. Yeah, because it's standard and it's running in the same way in all the projects. So why are we doing all of that? It certainly contains a lot of benefits for the whole team. Yeah, if we look into the program or the project management, I mean, they get a lot of transparency about what is going on in my project. Yeah, they have real time an overview if certain milestones are hidden or not hidden. They can see what is the status of my testing, see the status of certain documentation preparation. They can use all the best practices from Activate, from Model Company. They have a harmonized tool methodology, so onboarding or offboarding of people. Yeah, if you have new guys, they come in, they immediately know how to do and how the project processes will be. You have an earlier predictions through this transparency, and with that also a higher customer satisfaction with this transparency. The project team itself, they're also more happy because they have this guidance, they have these clear process flows, they now have the status and know what is next, and always are aware how they should proceed. They get also content, they have a high usability and a lot of automated steps that reduce redundant work. And finally, also the customers will be happier with it. Yeah? They have reduced time to value. So with using all that pre-configured content and a streamlined process, they have the waves that will release or that they provide already first results after an early stage of a wave. And they have a transparency through the business up. So they will always see how good is my process? Is my process ready? What are the requirements for my processes, and so on. And of course, they have a more stabilized data deployment. So no fear of having anything that is overriding or downgrade protected and things like that. So that's a major benefit beside of having one single source of the truth that they keep, because the solution manager is owned from the customer, whoever is the partner that is doing the implementation. And we see here the process flow. Very roughly, we see the roles that we are providing in our famous best practice focus build scenario, like the project manager who's taking care on the project plan and managing all the milestones, the waves, the issues and risks. We have the validation team, so the mainly driven from the business. Yeah, they are guiding the fit gap workshops for and collecting the requirements. We have also a build team. They are creating then the work packages and breaking them down into smaller items, the so-called work items. From there, they hand over into the development and configuration teams to develop and configure and also do their unit testing. And then do the documentation within these work items, and having also the short sprint reviews. That happens several times in each sprint, but then at the end of a wave, we will extend it and we will go into the testing, in the planned testing, meaning we will plan and execute functional tests, integration tests, regression tests, and so on. And also here, it's relevant that we are processing these test corrections in a protected environment. So this is at the end of a wave, typically, that we are in a frozen zone to have a pure and a clear test environment. And of course, at the end, we do again a release testing before we really set the whole developments and work packages into a go live. Just a very one example of here we have a project structure with, in this case, 2 waves and 6 sprints within. And what you can see is maybe in this one wave we have several milestones that are also part of our best practice, like is the functional specification available, or is it the single functional test completed? But we also have milestones that we are providing in our project plan on the sprint level, like is the technical design available, is the unit test completed, and so on. So this is the milestones that we are using also in the project plan, and which we are relating our KPIs in the dashboards to, so that we immediately see if we are overdue in terms of delivering the unit tests or the work items completed, and so on. At the end, so let's say these are the sprints in which the teams are doing their config and development work. At the end of the wave, we have then a single functional test, and maybe, if already possible, then the last sprint of a wave should be reserved for doing functional integration and regression tests before you really set the first results live in this release. Yeah? And then it can be repeated and so on. Of course, you could imagine that part of these things are running in parallel, and that's the reason why you would run these in different releases. Just that you see, this is, I don't want to go into the whole detail of it, but we are recommending definitely to use Focus Build with a 4-tier landscape. I mean, not of the Solution Manager, of course, there's a 2-tier landscape certainly sufficient, but your target landscape for your S4 environment should have a 4-tier landscape. And that's on purpose because based on Focus Build, we have some testing steps and statuses that we are doing here in the pre-productive system. So therefore, that's a very strong recommendation from our side. But here you just see that the main 3 document types that we are using, like the requirements on the business level, the work packages, which is on the architect level, and the work items more on the development level, how they are related to each other. And this is a status workflow, which gives a full end-to-end control about the process from the beginning, where you start collecting your requirements, up to your requirement, which is then productive at the end. Finally, I just would like to highlight again this Open SAP course, which is available since late last year, I think. It's structured, as you can see, role-based. So that's exactly what we recommend to anybody who would like to start working with with Focus Build, to participate in these Open SAP trainings. As you all know, they are for free, virtual available. You can do it all the time. You can even do a final exam if you want, because you can ask for reactivation. I think it's just a very small fee to get it, and then you can even have an exam at the end. And so that's our strongest recommendation to get deeper in it. Okay, with that, I would like to hand over to my colleague Frank, who would like to go with you in some more feature highlights.
Good, thanks David for this great overview. Okay, good, then again, thanks David for this great overview. So I want to just take maybe 10 minutes, that we have also some time for Q&A, and really show you some of the highlights of our last support package. For sure, we have shipped much more things, tiny little things, helping also the end users really to make life easier. I just picked out 4 of the highlights where I think they are really something important, and also showing the direction we are going to. Well, okay, first thing is about the configuration of Focus Build. So the intention was that Focus Build, well, it's a pre-configured end-to-end process, and the configuration should be really fast. Well, over time, we saw our config guide is growing, and Well, there are always some things that we can automate. So in Solution Manager, we have our Solution Manager or Solman setup automation. So this guided procedure framework, which guides you through the configuration steps. And we now invested also further in SP6 to provide more automation for focus build. So you get this away. You see that we have a new tile for the tool lead, which directly guides you into this guided procedure, brings you to this guided procedure. It includes things like the piece list activation is automated in there, and I highly recommend to do that also from there, because there are some cleanup reports running in addition, which make sure that if you need to transport and later on this activated piece list to production, Solman, everything is working fine. All the gateway service enabling is done there, and now with SP6, we also have all the template users available for the different focus build roles. And you can, like for other solution manager scenarios, create also users from there. And finally, also all the background jobs that are required within Solution Manager, within focus build to run, to make it working, are also included here. So especially with the background that since beginning of the year, we get more and more customers because it's now free of charge, no additional license needed. We are investing in that area here to make it really easy for the customers to get it configured. Good. The second thing, this is nothing really completely new. So we have now the in-app help based on this web assistant functionality. We introduced already in the last SP for some applications. We extended that in SP6. And also with the background that we get more and more customers now using it, this definitely makes sense. And I want to shortly show you that also in the system. You don't get that for free, which means, well, it's for free, sure, without additional license, but you need to do some configuration to get that working. So basically, it's something you need to configure in the web dispatcher, that you get this in-app help available. There are guides describing that. And then when you have it enabled, you see here on top this question mark icon, and then you can start it. Well, let me just go now to something like the tester in focus build, and in here I go into this my test execution application, and when I start it, you will see here that this in-app help is showing up. And let me just navigate into a test case, for example. And if I'm in there, and then, for example, okay, what is this icon here about? I can just click it. I see all the details, what it is about. Or if I go here into the attachments, I get clear description what it is about. Especially if you think about this is an application which is used by this test application, which is used by users who are not maybe that familiar with Solution Manager or Focus Build. They are just testing their business process. Well, this is quite helpful to give them some in-app help to support the usage of the application. Okay, back to the slides. The next one, I don't want to show you too much on that one because there's the whole session after this one from our colleague Jörg Marenk. He will show you in detail this readiness check integration into Focus Build, but as it's one of the highlights, I really need to mention that. So what we did there is, maybe you remember this underground map slide that David showed before. So there is this SAP readiness check, which is a cloud-based service where you basically, if you do a conversion project, you run in your ERP system some reports which collects data, then you upload that into this SAP readiness check application, which is basically in the cloud. And let me show you that because this one is a nice one. Once you've uploaded your ERP collected data in here, then the readiness check gives you things like simplification items and the related activities which need to be done in order to come from your ERP system into S4. But there is also other information available, like add-on compatibility or sizing recommendations for your S4 system. And now what we did is we take the output and mainly the simplification items and the related activities, and you can download it here via this download in this SAP readiness check. And then we take this zip file, or the customer takes that one. And if you are then within Solution Manager and Focus Build, then you have this new simplification item management application. And if you go there, there's an easy way to just upload the zip file. And once you have uploaded, then you have all this data from the SAP readiness check available in here. And then you have, well, like in the readiness check, you have your simplification items, the related activities, and you can take that as a starting point to create follow-up things within Focus Build to drive then your conversion project with Focus Build. Details on what you can do in detail here provided by Jörg in the next session. So that's that part here, and just maybe another 2 minutes to show you, which is also really helpful and making the start of your project much easier is in the project management area, where we provide an easy project setup wizard, helping you to create a project. So think about an S4 project. Normally these are not the smallest projects. When from experience, we have something like 10 to 15 build projects in parallel, which are grouped via below this master project. And ideally, what you need to have there is then that all the build projects are really synchronized from the timing perspective with all the queue gates, sprints, waves needs to be synchronously maintained. And up to now, this was all really manual work by the project management people. They had to do that. And now with this wizard, we can easily create at least the initial start of the project. We can easily schedule and create all these projects. And then that's maybe the last thing I want to show you. If I go back here, and let's assume I'm now the project manager and go into my project management application, then there is, I'm not sure if you see that, here's the easy project setup, and then this wizard starts, and as input you need to provide now some information about the project you want to set up. So how many weeks per sprint you want to have, how many waves you like to have, how many sprints per wave, how many waves you like to have. Let's reduce that for me to 2. And then you need to input some data about project phases, how long they should be. Well, the realize phase, that's automatically calculated out of the data you provide here for sprint and waves, because this is the realize part of your project. And then it goes on that you need to define your queue gates, milestones, and milestones for waves and sprints. And here you basically give in just the days before or after start or before the end of a certain wave or sprint when these milestones should show up in your project. So by that, this makes life also much easier. And then finally, you just define a start date of your project. End date is calculated based on the data that you have provided beforehand. And you just need to say, okay, well, this is now a master project, which should have, in this case, let me do 2 build projects. And I just need to assign a certain release also. So let's take this one here. And then you have even the chance directly in the wizard to say if a certain wave should be assigned to a different release. So maybe if my wave 1 is release 2.0, I can assign already in here that my wave 2 will be assigned to release 3. And then in all the 2 projects I create now, the wave 2 will be assigned to release 3 already. Well, that's it. And then I just need to give it a name. Master, and then let me just do that. But at the end, I assume you believe me. And then project 1, and I just, for simplification reasons, let me just copy that and give it a 2. And then that's it. And creating the projects, and I'm basically done. And then, well, these projects now get created. takes a little bit, but once it's done, you will see here now I have this master project and the 2 build projects. And if I have a look to this master project, you will see that everything is really in sync. So if I open this build project 1, it has now these 2 waves that I defined, and within the wave, I have certain amount of sprints that you will let's see if I open it. But just to make sure that you believe me, I just close these waves here, and I just go to the second project, and this is then basically in sync. The waves are in sync with all the rest. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so easy to do for program management and project management to get it set up. And there's more thing to come in the future where we really make sure that you can also easily schedule, readjust the schedule. Good, I think that's it from my side about the highlights that I wanted to show. I think that slide, David, maybe you can say some words on that one.
Yeah, I think that's just fine. That's in all the sessions, just to aware of this Open SAP training for Cloud ALM.
Good, but then I would say let's keep it by that. We are quite some time over time. I think we can then close the session.